Welcome to What the Tech, where we cut through the hype and give you the real story. Today, we are digging into a huge contradiction right at the heart of the software world. You know, everyone's talking about the promise of AI, but behind all that noise, something just isn't adding up. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's just start with this massive number. A GitHub survey from 2023 found that a staggering 92% of programmers are using AI tools at work. 92%. I mean, on the surface, this looks like a golden age for tech, right? AI is making everyone super productive, cranking out code faster than ever before. So, where's the catch?
Well, here it is. This is the paradox. If AI is this powerful, incredible productivity booster, then why are new computer science grads struggling so hard to find jobs? Why are giants like Salesforce and Amazon suddenly slamming the brakes on hiring engineers? The official story and what's happening on the ground, they just don't match up at all.
So what is really going on here? First, you've got to understand the official narrative. You know, the story that the tech evangelists and the CEOs are all selling us about AI's big promise.
They're calling it the age of vibe coding. Yeah, vibe coding. The idea is pretty simple. With these new prompt-based tools from giants like OpenAI and Google, literally anyone can generate code. You don't have to be a developer. You just describe what you want and voila. The promise is that making software is now easier and more accessible than it has ever been. And this quote, it perfectly illustrates the hype train. It comes from a leader at Windsurf, a startup that Google recently bought. He was describing how his non-technical teams, we're talking sales, marketing, finance, started building their own apps. His company reportedly saved $500,000 in software spending by vibe coding these tools in-house. See? This is the powerful, cost-saving dream that's being sold.
But that dream, it has a pretty dark side. Because while all these companies are celebrating their new powers, that big promise is crashing head-on into the reality of the job market.
And this is the core of the paradox, right here. On one hand, you've got the promise of massive productivity, more value. And on the other hand, the reality. Hiring freezes, mass layoffs, and a whole lot less bargaining power for developers. And we're hearing this directly from the top, from leaders like Amazon's Andy Jassy and Salesforce's Mark Benioff, who are openly talking about cutting headcount.
So how in the world do we explain this? Well, it's time to cut through the hype and look at what's really happening. It's time to take apart these optimistic claims piece by piece.
All right, first up, this whole idea of vibe coding. I mean, it sounds cool, but it is a dangerously simple way of looking at a very complex thing. Real software isn't just about spitting out code. It's about architecture, it's about security, long-term maintenance. Ignoring all of that doesn't solve problems, it just kicks the can down the road and creates a bigger, way more expensive mess later on. And remember that $500,000 in savings? Yeah, that pretty much evaporates when you look at all the hidden costs. Like, who's doing the security reviews on these apps? Who's going to maintain it in a year when the person who built it leaves? This creates something called shadow IT, unsupported, unvetted apps running critical parts of the business. It is a massive corporate risk. In fact, a veteran consultant, Jay Prial, he calls these AI tools a 60% solution. Think about that. They're great at generating simple, boilerplate code that gets you started. But that last 40%, the really hard part, that still requires a human expert to verify it, to correct it, and to optimize it to make it actually ready for the real world. And the supposed efficiency gains, they keep getting eaten away. Prial points out that you can give an AI the exact same prompt twice and get two totally different answers. This forces developers to waste time just picking the best one. And even worse, the code it generates often just ignores a company's own standards, which means it has to be manually rewritten anyway. So much for saving time, huh? But look, the limitations of the technology itself, that's only half the story. The real issue here is how corporations are using the story, the narrative of AI. This isn't just about code anymore, it's about power. And this is the real corporate playbook.
It's actually pretty simple when you break it down. Step 1, hype up the productivity gains from AI. Step 2, use all that hype to justify hiring freezes and layoffs. Step 3, this of course reduces the bargaining power of your remaining workforce. And the end game? It's a strategic shift of power and resources away from labor and straight towards capital.
Now, this strategy might look fantastic on a quarterly report, but it creates a huge long-term risk for the entire industry. And that risk, that is the most important part of this whole story. The industry risks eating its seed corn. Just
Think about what that means for a second. The seed corn is what you save to plant next year's crop. In the world of tech, the seed corn is the junior developers, the future experts. By wiping out entry-level jobs, companies are literally destroying their own talent pipeline. So who are they going to call in a few years to fix that last 40% of the AI's messy code?
And so we're left with this really critical question. We're being told that AI is building a more efficient future for us. But what if it's really being used to dismantle the very foundation of talent the industry was built on? The question isn't just about what AI can build, it's about what we might be tearing down in the process. Thanks for watching WtT.